category based on that accuracy. Maybe suppose you want all the algorithms are come between 1.5 to 2, you can group them into one. So this is one of my old material. Maybe it will be interesting to look into that. We used to prepare the material. We used to print these materials on a transparency sheet for the overhead projector. We don't have any material. mm, I mean, like the LCD and others. So this is already transformed, but still I sometimes I use just to remind these things. So unlike the classical approximation ratio analysis, which is compares the numerical quality of the calculated solution uh, with an optimal solution, that is, let us say I try to find out the shortest path or a minimum spanning tree, so it will return me a value. But my optimal solution, that value is somewhat known to me. So based on these two values, I can compare the output of an approximation algorithm with the optimal solution. Let us assume that by any means you obtained the optimal solution. Okay, so this involves examining the rank of the calculated solution in sorted order for all possible solution. That means optimal solution is known to you and you proposed one approximation algorithm for a minimum spanning tree. So your solution value can be computed. Then there is a second algorithm for minimum spanning tree, approximation algorithm. So that also with returns with value. So what we can do, we can grade those algorithms depending on who, I mean the particular algorithm who is close to the optimal solution. So we can rank them. Suppose there are 5 approximation algorithm, we can rank them based on the numerical value or the quality of the solution. That is, let us say we are going to compute the minimum spanning tree. So we can arrange them in a order depending on my objective function, if it is a maximizer or minimizer, with the assumption that optimal solution is known to us. So this is the approach uh, which sometimes is being followed. But what this approach exactly try to say, in this style of analysis, algorithm is set to, I mean, under this dominance analysis, we attach a number k. We attach a number k. That means suppose you are proposing a approximation algorithm, another person has also proposed some approximation algorithm. Then instead of comparing the numerical value or which is the output of the algorithm, I can designated them ki this is a 2 approximation, or maybe for this algorithm the value of the k is 2, for other approximation, for other approximation algorithm the value is the other approximation, the value of the k is 2. So that means the two algorithms, we have two different k, and for two algorithms there is a similar k value. So when we try to group those algorithms, we can attach them in terms of a k value. Okay, so now what he tried to say, if there exists a subset of k of different solutions to the problem among the algorithm, output is the best. So this is the way to compare I mean, what I mean to say, there is a n number of approximation algorithm. We try to collect a subset which is can be ranked or designated with help of a number k. Okay, so this is can be expressed using a particular ratio which is known as the domination ratio, which is the fraction of the solution space that no better than the given solution. This number always lies within the interval of 0 and 1. What it tried to say, suppose you have 100 solutions. Okay, so 100 solutions, you sketch a circle or a rectangle square. You obtain the 100 solutions. Then looking into the category, if you try to put the weights to them, or you are finding a cluster out of, let us say it is just a square of, I mean 1 centimeter to 1 centimeter, and within that you are finding a patch, and within that patch you are finding out of the 100 solutions, 70% of solutions are belongs to that cluster. That means when a new algorithm is going to come, you are asking whether that algorithm as per approximation ratio goes to that particular cluster or it is outside that cluster. So it is something like this. So based on that means, again I repeat, you have 100 algorithms, you find out the 70% algorithms are comes to a group or the set. Then when a new algorithm is going to come, you are judging whether that algorithm, approximation algorithm, falls within the previously the 70 algorithm group or it goes to outside. That's why these two value are used, 0 and 1. Okay, and when it says the many solutions are belongs to the a large number, so that I mean the quality of the solution is accepted. If you remember last class we have defined something called approximation scheme. Approximation scheme is not a single algorithm, it's a set of algorithm. So in a domination analysis, the most commonly applied to the problem in which the total number of possible solutions is known, for which the exact solution is difficult. So they try to how a particular problem the possible solution is known. For that actually we prefer the size of the solution space. Then we apply, let us say, for a complete graph, how many solutions are possible. Why for traveling salesman problem there will be n minus 1 factorial possible solution? Can anybody share why it is n minus 1 factorial? It's very simple. You have n number of cities. So how many ways you can select the first cities? How many ways you can select remaining other cities? That is, you start from a city, you have to visit all the cities. So the possible permutations are can be uh, your n minus 1 factorial. So that means the size of the solution space is known. Okay, the size of the solution is known, that is n minus 1 factorial. So now if it is known, then you try to find out the ratio. That means suppose the approximation algorithm try to compute, then which solution it returns. Suppose say there are two approximation algorithm, both of them have returns the same solution. Okay, you have four different algorithms, and out of which three returns one solution and one returns another solution, because there are number of solutions. If an algorithm can be shown to have a dominance number that is close to n minus 1, that means your solution has got all possibility, that is n minus 1 factorial. Or then if you are trying to cover all possible solutions for different execution or different run, then it is close to 1. That means you are addressing all solution space. Then it can be taken the preferably to the algorithm which is the low dominance number. That means the algorithm which is going to cover maximum solution space, that is n minus 1. And if you look into the previous discussion, when we say we try to put all the output of the algorithm, so some of the output of the algorithms are not very close to the total number of solutions. Some algorithms are very far away from the solution, which is not acceptable. Based on that, you can define whether acceptable or not acceptable in terms of 0 and 1. This is not the numerical measure. It is that if it is close, I mean, it is covering all possible or not covering. If it is possible to efficiently find a random sample of problem solution space, why random sample of the solution space is considered? Because the solution space is exponential. If you try to perform this analysis, you maybe the solution space is very large enough, which is very difficult to get, rather than you try to look into a small size or a sample. How that is possible? Maybe you are looking into the problem, you have got 5 cities. You are only interested for those solutions whose first 3 city is fixed. Let us say ABC. So I'm looking for all solutions keeping the ABC constant. So definitely that will be less than the possibility solution, or that is a subset. So if it is possible to find a random sample of problem solution space as it is in the traveling salesperson problem, then it is straightforward for a randomized algorithm to find out a solution, and that with high probability and high dominance ratio. Then this is sometimes when we try to compare the approximation and the randomization, this is the one way it goes to compare, where you are fixing first three, only altering the rest three cities. So that is going to reduce this n minus 1 factorial with a guarantee that you are going to find out a solution. So that means the sample space or the selected space is selected by applying certain restriction. So only things to be take away from this point, when you try to construct the solution, if you have fixed some part of the decision which is not the variable, it is able to reduce. But if that particular solution space is with high probability, then it will lead to the high dominance ratio. So this is the theory is proposed by the researcher which try to provide a class or a group of algorithm so that we can designate them with a attribute, like suppose 3 star 4 star we attach to a electrical equipment, it is something like this. Okay, that means if you have a two algorithms you are comparing, you may comment like this, both the algorithms have shown same dominance number, but on actual implementation this algorithm performs better. Okay, so looking into this approximation, but what I find the last class people requires little bit of detail on NP hard problem. So I decided to go back to the NP portion chapter. But before that, just to look into, this is another introduction of approximation algorithm. So in a single line, we can say we are targeting to the discrete optimization problems which are NP hard in nature. Okay, NP hard in nature. So the many of the problems that arise in practical application or discrete optimization are NP hard. That is, the optimal solution cannot be computed in polynomial time uh, modulo the p or not equal to NP conjecture. That means we do not have, just conclude, we do not have a known polynomial time algorithm without looking into this critical definition. So approximation algorithms are often associated with NP hard problem. That's why if you look into a textbook by approximation algorithm, it says approximation algorithm for NP hard problem. So where you'll be finding proof of any problem to be NP hard, the source of the book is Johnson's book. Okay. So that is the Bible. Any research paper when we'll find they are finding my problem is NP hard. So always everybody refers to Johnson's paper. Okay, and but the difficult part is with us, and this is the problem faced by many students during the thesis presentation. Maybe you can say almost all students. 99% students works on a problem which is NP hard. So casually they use a statement sometimes. So while presenting, my problem is NP hard, my problem is NP complete. So the examiner expects that you must know the art to prove your algorithm, prove your problem to be NP complete or NP hard. So this exactly we face many times, and whenever you refer to many papers or research papers, they have not explicitly, because it's a research paper, they only put a reference to the Johnson's book or any other book and they say the problem is NP hard. That's all. No proof is there. But in a typically in a thesis, you need to put the argument or the theorem proving or explanation why this problem is NP hard. Okay, so now the takeaway from the second point is that it is very difficult to find out the optimal solution in polynomial time for NP hard problems. So one settle for the non-optimal solution or suboptimal solution, but requires them to found in polynomial time. Please remember, we always try to have a polynomial time algorithm. Polynomial time algorithm, because termination complexity can be calculated, but quality of the solution, it may be optimal, it may not be optimal. Okay, and again I repeat, when we say the solution is optimal, if I'll prove the lower bound of the problem is equal to the complexity of the algorithm, then that solution becomes optimal. So approximation algorithms have become the method for choice attacking intractable combinatorial problems, and in general intractable combinatorial problems are NP hard problem. So then if you look into the running time and the size of the search space that is to be sacrificed, that reduces the quality. that reduces the quality. You have a solution space with 1,000 solution. Suddenly you have decided I'll divide them into two half. Might be if they are not arranged in the order, then you may be losing the optimal solution by discarding the half of that. So then definitely the quality of the solution which you will be obtaining is suboptimal. Maybe if you are moving, if it is a maximizer and you are moving more towards the low end, then quality of solution is going to affect your performance. Are you getting me? When I say if it is a maximizer problem, you must be, let us say this is a scale. Low values are to the left side, high value are to the right side. So when you try to divide your solution space, definitely you try to land into first upper half or to the right of that where you land within the maximum value. And suppose you land in between, few points towards the minimum, few point towards with the maximum, then you cannot have a better solution. So that's why during the search process different mechanism is used, so that when you try to eliminate certain type of search space, you can take a judicious decision or intelligent decision. Okay, the same thing is reflected also in AI, artificial intelligence. We talk about, we go for the solution space. So these two, last class I have shown you the different analysis, I mean the different category of the algorithm that can be used. So here we just a little bit talk about the optimization problem, and what are the other paradigms which are going to find out the optimal solution. So without looking into any other paradigm, you can say branch and bound is going to find out the optimal solution, because it try to traverse the whole solution space if you not restrict the bounding factor. Okay, so this is one of the approach to find out the optimal solution, because if you compare with a solution space represented as a tree, if you are able to visit all the leaf nodes, then you can find a optimal solution. But for the problems, if the number of the nodes in the leaf nodes are quite large, it is not possible. So the different methods is being used. You may use for a small problem the branch and bound algorithm to find out the solution, and or the methods based on the real algebraic geometry, which is an example of a closed set point problem or a convex hull, where we use the geometrical property to find out the boundary. That is also a optimization problem, because we try to find out the minimum number of vertex or the minimum number of points will lie in the boundary of the convex hull. Then the second category of the problem is the stochastic or thermodynamics. Why thermodynamics term some author used to write? That is because of the method simulated annealing. Okay, simulated annealing is based on the cooling down of the molten metal. That means there is a metal which is with high temperature is the melted, and when they start cooling, that means they are approaching to the solutions, but the cool down phenomena is not uniform, it is a random. Okay. So that's why thermodynamics term is there. Otherwise, if you come into the direct Monte Carlo sampling or type of randomized algorithm, stochastic tunneling, parallel tampering, Monte Carlo with minimization and conjunction method. So this mostly covers the randomized or the stochastic algorithms where you can find out the solution. In general, you can say we are looking for a randomized algorithm. So third one is the heuristic and the meta heuristic. So under the heuristic, we have many nature inspired heuristic, or we have broadly categorized. I mean, it's not a complete categorization, it's an example. So that is evolutionary algorithm, where you can find genetic algorithm, swarm-based optimization algorithm, ant colony optimization based on the natural phenomena, and memtic algorithm, combinatorial global and local search strategy. But here all these methods are search method and searching on the top of a solution space, but ability is that they are going to omit a large number of solution space as it progress. Maybe I am looking into iteration. I suppose in a 10 iteration, 20 iteration, I can eliminate thousand of possibility. Then my convergence to find out a solution will be large. So with this, we'll go back to the MP complete discussion. I am not going to continue with your approximation. I think some theorem proving will help you to understand what is a better how to prove algorithm to be NP complete. Okay, this is a quick look. Just if you are curious about the approximation algorithm, let us say we try to find out, this is NP hard problem, and we try to find out the minimum spanning tree for a weighted graph. Okay, so what we try to do, we have different methods. So I can either apply or prim or Kruskal to find out the minimum spanning tree. So this is the given tree. This is a minimum spanning tree. Basic idea is to, we are discussing a concept of a approximation algorithm to find out a solution to traveling salesman problem. So what is the problem here? Given the graph, we are starting with vertex A. How we will return to vertex A by visiting all cities. Okay, that is the basic objective of the traveling salesperson problem or a problem statement. Again, I repeat, I start with vertex A. It will return to vertex A. That is the tour we need to calculate. For that, we try to design a approximation algorithm. Here, the trick is very simple. This is one of the common example discussed, that I have to design an approximation algorithm. What I am using? I am using a greedy algorithm. Greedy algorithm to find out the minimum spanning tree. Okay, I find out the minimum spanning tree. Then by applying some exercise to the minimum spanning tree, that means the tree which you are finding to the right will be converted to a tour. I repeat again, from given graph, find a spanning tree and then again transform the spanning tree to a tour. Transform the spanning tree to a tour, because the objective of this particular problem is find out a tour. Okay, you see the approaches are very simple without going into the details how the mechanism works. If we look into this and you try to construct a tour, yeah, read the first line. So pre-order traversal of the sequence you can compute. Yes or no? You can compute a pre-order traversal sequence of a the given graph. And as it looks like, if the root is the, you treat as a, you can find out the pre-order traversal sequence. Once you compute the pre-order traversal sequence, then you try to generate a tour. When you try to generate a tour, let us say you start with the A, root A. Then you goes to the node E. From the node E, you come to the C. Then the C you are going to B. And when you are going into that, so there we'll apply this concept, the pre-order traversal. So we will connect, look into this, we will connect the way we try to compute a tour. Start with a graph, computing a spanning tree, then writing a specific algorithm which will eliminate certain edges or some edges to complete, to complete the tour, to complete the tour. Then if you look into the cost of this tour, it is not the optimal one. This is a suboptimal solution. So this is one of the interesting example where you can talk about designing a approximation algorithm. Then next you may ask what will be, it is a 2 approximation, 1 approximation or 3 approximation. So this can be proved with the theorem proving, which we are not going to discuss. So but the algorithm which you have discussed, you see this is the proof. The approach TSP tour is a 2 approximation algorithm. Okay, let me go back to the NP complete portion which we have started in one class but we could not continue. So we'll complete that one first, then we'll resume our discussion on approximation algorithm. You see this is a proof which discusses how to prove this algorithm to be 2 approximation. Okay, algorithm is to be 2 approximation. This is the answer. This is the answer where you are finding something is 2 multiplied into h star. So this is to prove that whatever algorithm we are discussing is to be a 2 approximation algorithm. Okay, so let me switch over to the NP portion so that we'll start the discussion with NP complete portion. Then after finishing that, we'll be again come back to the approximation algorithm. Okay. So some people are critical about this NP hard or NP complete. Uh, so I would like to first take that discussion, then we'll be coming into the detail how we did the proving and what is the concept of reducibility. Reducibility is nothing but again we are in the process of designing a algorithm. We are in the process of designing a algorithm which will transform one problem to other form. So sometimes, suppose in your thesis you have selected a problem. Nobody has proved that problems to be NP complete. Maybe no literature is available. So that provides you an opportunity. What you can do, you can uh, go for proving that one, and that you can include in your one of the chapter a second chapter when we analyze the problem. So that can be sometimes treated as one of the contribution, because you are the first person to prove that is problem to be NP complete. Okay, that is the concept of the reducibility. So today we'll take those examples. Yeah, this we have started, and this is the book actually. Almost all the researchers, they try to cite this particular book, and they try to claim that my problem is NP complete, so it is not my evaluation because it is proved. But nowadays, what I have observed in 4 to 5 PhD thesis in the department, and the examiners are definitely asking this question. You claim the problem to be NP complete, and they try to look for the proof. They try to look for. I mean, they are looking to for explanation, which is not actually either discussed or written in the thesis. This happens with many people. Okay, so those who are particularly referring to the thesis or writing any thesis, simply if somebody says software testing, why software testing is a problem? Why software testing is NP complete? But if you are not going to answer, maybe uh, you know how to prove the traveling salesman problem to be NP complete. You can learn that concept to prove that software testing is NP complete, because when you try to design the test cases, and suppose A varies from 1 to 5, B varies from 1 to 10, C varies from 1 to 30, and if I say how many possible values are there for ABC, so that I can generate them automatically to test a program whether it works for different value of ABC based on a specific range which is allowed by my problem, then that particular set ABC is a very large number. Okay, so this is the mother book of all these NP completeness. Book is, I think, is not available. Only source is to download that or take a Xerox copy of that book. But this book is must in some of the good institute when people start doing the project work in computer science department. It's a mandatory for them to go through that book to complete their work. This thing we have discussed, other than we'll be re-examining in terms of the P and NP. Yeah, look into this diagram. how this diagram is coming to the picture. This diagram is coming to the picture based on the votings of the expert, is not by the fact or a weight by which this diagram is designed. You see, out of the all problems that belongs to NP category, or we do not have any known polynomial time algorithm, a subset is P. That means P is the set of problems that can solved in polynomial time. Then if you look into this diagram, we have this transparent circle represents NP hard, a set of problem. What you see, one problem is NP. Then the intersection of NP and NP hard is found to be NP complete. So from this one thing you conclude any problem is NP hard. So that is a safe statement you can make. If you are making a problem statement like NP complete, then it requires a proof. Sometimes if it is a NP hard, it does not require a proof. You can somewhat escape, because many people escape when they say the NP hard. But once they say NP complete, it a proof is required. So how to prove a problem to be NP hard? And as the diagram says, once it is problem to be proved to be NP hard, proving it to be NP complete is easy. Okay, so the basic definition which I discussed number of times, you may not have a exact algorithm, to solve that problem, but you can verify the solution in polynomial time. This is one of the definition for the NP complete problem. That means verification of the solution is possible. Okay, so we have discussed this thing, halting problem and others. Now, this is the open problem where we try to prove P equal to NP. Now, I'll be explaining from this point because I had already explained once. The problem P1, any problem is P1 proved to be NP complete, or it is say NP complete. Every problem in NP can be reduced to P1 in polynomial time. If you remember the diagram, every problem is the NP. NP is a larger space, P1 is a smaller one. If any problem for which we do not have any polynomial time algorithm can be reduced to NP complete, Okay, this means if you have solved P1, then you solve every problem in NP. And if you look into that flow chart, yes, this is NP. Any problem NP complete is a subset. NP is the set of problems that is for those problems we do not have a polynomial time algorithm. Look into this first diagram only. The first diagram says this is the whole is a problem space, out of which few problem has got polynomial time algorithm. So if you look into the first two circles, you can say P complement. Looking into first two circle, anything outside the P is belongs to P, or looking into the whole problem space, few have the polynomial time algorithm, they belongs to the family P, rest is NP. Clear? This is the distinction between P and NP. Okay, then NP complete and NP hard both are subset of NP. What is NP? NP is those set of algorithm for which we do not have a polynomial time algorithm. Any doubt on that first thing? Let me clarify. Yes. Look into this one. Whole problem what? Divided into two categories. One is the set of problems that have polynomial time complexity. Other are the problem for which we do not have any polynomial time algorithm. Without looking into NP complete, NP hard.
Sir,
Are you getting? Yes.
sir, is NP problems are same as, or the same name for intractable problems?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. No. Don't come into that. We can say trackable, intractable. Very good. P is trackable and P is intractable. Okay. P is
Okay, sir.
trackable and P is intractable. So whole problem space divided into two categories. First, We'll simplify the things without naming NP hard and NP complete. So clear between, I mean, clarification between P and NP is like this. P stands for polynomial time algorithm and P stands for non-deterministic polynomial time algorithm. If we look into a problem point of view, some problems we have polynomial time algorithm, they belongs to family P. For some problems we do not have polynomial time algorithm, so they are belongs to NP. Now you come to instance. Let us say you have a sorting algorithm, right? Whatever the number you will supply, it will able to sort. But somebody come with a particular input or set of element for which your algorithm is not able to sort. How you react to that? You have a algorithm, you tried with 100 input data, it sorts. So what you are going to prove? What is your algorithm? It is belongs to P. Yes or no? You have written an algorithm which sorts the number. Whatever input you will supply, it sorts the number. And that algorithm is polynomial in nature.
Yes.
But now I am trying to tell you in particularly what is instance when we say all instance. But one of your friend has come out with a set of input for which your algorithm fails. Okay. So whether it will belongs to P or NP?
NP.
NP, because you see it completes in polynomial time, right? Your algorithm terminates in polynomial time. For some inputs, it yields the result. For some input, it's not going to give you the solution. So that is belongs to. Then what you can say about your problem? My problem is belongs to NP.
Yes, sir.
That means if there is no polynomial time algorithm for all instances, please remember this word, for all possible inputs, if your algorithm fails to do that, then we are not going to claim that there is a polynomial time algorithm for my problem. So if there is no polynomial time algorithm for maybe 99 input, it gives you result. For one input, it fails, it belongs to NP. Once it belongs to NP, then you have many questions. Prove that the problem to be NP complete or prove that the problem to be NP hard. It's like this. So first belongs to P and so not belongs to P. Only this diagram first belongs to P and not belongs to P. Right. So with this assumption, we'll proceed that we understood the P and NP first. Okay. So this is
Hello,
the
sir.
fact. Yes.
Hello. Sir,
Yes.
so when you say the problem fails to give the solution, do you mean by the automata halts or it gives a wrong solution?
You see, automata is used to verify the solution in polynomial time. When it comes from the starting state to the goal state, it takes finite number of steps. Understood? When it says it takes finite number of steps to come to the goal state, it is a halting problem. Okay, but when otherwise, if we say fail to give a solution means you try to supply a setup, I mean a combination and a solution, you want to verify it, come in other way. And that automata is not able to verify the solution. That means you start from the start state, you are not able to reach with the goal state. Then the problem is not a halting problem. Halting problem means it successfully stops in polynomial's time by starting from a start state to goal state. Either you can call it as a verification or it produces result. Let us look into that. I am looking into a string of 0, 1 whole star, right? I am looking for 0, 1. You are looking for 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. What will happen? Is it a solution? Suppose I designed the automata, it generates 0, 1, You want 0 1 0 1 0 1 three times, means it starts from a starting state coming to the goal state. I am looking for a string 0 1, so I start from the starting state coming to the goal state. Okay. But suppose you designed the automata for 0 1 whole star. I am looking for 1 0 whole star. What will happen? What will happen? So that's why, I mean, your automata is not going to do that. Your
No, sir.
automata is not going to do that. So that is a non-halting problem, you can say. You are not able to come to the goal state. So that is becomes more prominent when we say a solution can be verified in polynomial time. That is a good example. We can use the I mean halting problem or the automata to do that. Okay, so now come to this line. This is the open problem, which is unsolvable problem, because we have understood P is a subset of NP. So we continue with that. P is a subset of NP. Whether NP is a subset of P, if this can be proved, then P equal to NP. Okay, so this is the open problem or most challenging problem in computer science, and still it is an open problem. And as I have included uh, in the, I mean in that slide, what are the most challenged NP problems and what is the open problem. Kerala Mathematical Institute opens for that. Okay, so we'll not look at. I mean, you can use your leisure time to look into that. Okay. Now, when we try to prove, that means you have now you have two class of problem, P or NP. So you are not going to touch the problem P. Now somebody wants the problem which is belongs to NP. The problem which belongs to NP, you try to prove whether it is NP complete or not. Okay. The problem which belongs to NP, you try to prove that the problem is NP complete or not. So to prove any problem to be NP complete, first it must be within NP, right? Once a problem is in NP, you try to prove that the problem to be NP complete. Clear? Again I repeat, the problem must be in NP. Now to prove a problem to be NP complete, we need a reference of another problem which was proved to be NP complete. Okay, so that is the reason which one is the first problem which is proved to be NP complete. So without looking into how it is being done, it is told the first problem that is proved to be NP complete is your circuit satisfiability problem or CNF. So CNF, why so? That means then you come to the line number 1. A problem P1 is NP complete if every problem in NP can be reduced to P1 in polynomial time. If this is the hypothesis we accept, the reverse is that. That means if you can solve the problem P1, you solve the every problem in NP. Every problem is NP. So the proof is also similar. If your P1 is NP complete, with reference to P1, you can prove any problem to be NP complete in NP space. But it may be, it may not be. If you can prove there exists a problem P1 is NP complete, I developed a mechanism. All the problems in NP will be proved to be NP complete. Understood this first two lines. But what is the reality? Again, you go back to that diagram. So NP, we try to pick up a problem, and that problem is somewhere here in NP, and you prove that that problem is NP complete. We have not discussed so far the definition or something you said is a problem is to be NP complete. But what the diagram says, the all problem in NP are still to prove that they are NP complete. Okay, so this because it is an open problem, all problems are not proved, all problem belongs to NP are not proved to be NP complete. So NP complete is a subset of NP. I mean, there are some common problems which belongs to NP and they prove to be NP complete. So this shares a common space. Okay,
Sir,
this shares a, yes.
sir, you said that an NP complete problem is one to which all other NP problems can be reduced to.
No, that we are coming to that, but first it is a problem is resides in NP. Okay, and those problems are proved. We do not know how to suppose there is a problem which proved to be NP complete. Assume that first. Okay, then we'll come to reducibility. We assume that a problem is NP complete. So far we have not discussed the definition or anything, but that problem is belongs to NP. Any problem out of the problem belongs to NP, there is a problem P1 which is NP complete. That you are accepting or not first.
Okay.
So here the slide says there is a problem P1, there is a problem P1, a problem P was in NP complete. Okay, because we are looking for, so that actually lead to an argument that which problem is first proved to be NP complete. We do not know the mechanism of proving. If we get a problem, then because this statement will be useful after the statement number 3, a problem P1 is NP complete if every problem in NP can be reduced to P1 in polynomial time. So this is the mechanism we'll discuss, but this is one of the mechanism. So that will come later on. But we have yes.
Sir, you just said right now that there are several problems left in NP which have not been proven to be NP complete. So that means that the first problem which was proven to be NP complete cannot be NP complete, because by the first statement it said that if every problem in NP can be reduced to P1, but it has not been proven that all of them can be reduced to P1.
Yes,
so
yes. That is the open problem. If we'll able to prove, then the diagram will be changed. Instead of writing the rest part to be NP, we could have written there NP complete. If we look into the rest part of the problem, one is in polynomial time, rest part we call it as a NP. If we'll able to prove, that is open problem. There are many problems which are belongs to NP but not proved to be NP complete. That you accept or not? Again, I repeat, I have not defined so far NP complete. Let us have it say illusion. The problem which are belongs to NP are not all are not proved to be NP complete. If all problem will be proved to be NP complete, then what is the need of writing NP there? We could have written one family is P, other is NP complete. Got it? But this story you keep it one place, then you come how to prove a problem to be NP complete. The two things goes parallelly. How to prove a problem to be NP complete? A problem can be proved to be NP complete with reference to a problem which is previously proved to be NP complete. Are you getting, or still you are confusing? You see this no, don't get, you see this outer world shaded yellow color world is your whole problem world, right? That you understood, out of which we have polynomial time algorithm, that is a pink color. Okay, rest of the algorithms we do not have a polynomial time algorithm, right? Then suddenly one word comes, NP complete. So far we have not defined NP complete. So what we are arguing, a problem to be NP complete means what? What is a problem? What do you mean by NP complete then? What do you mean by NP complete? I'm saying I'm not defined, but you also don't land into any definition. Let us say something we want to say NP complete. Now we'll come to define what is NP complete. Got it? So when we, and now let us say there is a rest of the problem which is other than P. We try to prove them NP complete or not. So far we have not defined any definition for NP complete, but we try to prove them NP complete. Why? Why we are interested on that? A problem P1 is NP complete. This is a mechanism we have discussed, but not defined so far. Then when we come to this, means that if you solved P1, then you solved every problem in NP. That means NP complete problems are solvable problems. NP complete problem are solvable problems, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
NP, for some instances, NP complete problems are solvable problems. Now, to prove a problem to be NP complete, we have to prove with reference to another problem which is proved to be NP complete. Okay. We have to prove that. So that is one method for proving a problem to be NP complete. That means if I am looking into the rest of the space other than P or P complement, we pick up every problem. We are trying to prove them NP complete. For that, I need a reference of a problem which is NP complete. This much first you assume. To prove a problem to be NP complete, I need a problem which is previously proved to be NP complete. Then I'll be using a method called reducibility to prove a problem which is belongs to NP as NP complete. This is accepted? Sreyan?
Yes, sir.
Is it accepted? See,
Yes, sir.
I pick up a problem from NP. I try to prove them to be NP complete. I can do that provided I got an example of a problem which is NP complete. So still, and unless and until the Cook proved that the problem circuit satisfiability NP complete, there was no proof was existing. People only defines that the problem as two category, P and NP. When the NP proof exists, this subcategory comes. Okay, these are not the ancient problems. So now, okay. Now, when we try to prove a problem to be NP complete, you see both are belongs to NP. P1 belongs to NP, P2 is also belongs to NP. Then it discusses that mechanism through which a problem can be proved to be NP complete. Again, I repeat, P1 belongs to NP, P2 also belongs to NP. If suppose God has gifted us a problem like Cook, which is proved to be NP complete. Now, what the researcher try to do, they pick up all the problems belongs to NP and they are searching for a proof method that can it be reduced? Can it be reduced? Can it be reduced like this? If you can pick up another problem P1 that is known to be NP complete, let us assume that P1 is the only problem which is proved to be NP complete. Now we are looking for a method that P1 can be reduced to P2. Let us say P2 is any problem that is belongs to whom? Where? P2 belongs to NP. P2 is any arbitrary problem belongs to NP. If we are able to do that, if we are able to reduce the P1 to any arbitrary problem, then that problem is proved to be NP complete. If we are going to do that for all the problems belong to NP space, then there is no term called NP, that area becomes NP complete. Okay. So that becomes NP complete. Now, that's why these things has to be understood. Otherwise, copying from the book will not solve the problem. So in case you saw that the NP complete problem P can be solved in polynomial time, you have proven that P equal to NP, which is not possible till now. Come to the third point. If we can show that any one problem that can be solved in polynomial time. First means you are looking into a problem, then that problem is belongs to NP. We are looking into a problem, that problem is either belongs to P or belongs to NP. Then I am proving that my problem is belongs to NP. After proving my problem belongs to the NP, I am trying to prove that my problem is belongs to be NP complete. Okay. And after proving that problems to be NP complete, if I have proved by any means, I have developed a polynomial time algorithm for my problem or a particular problem, then you can prove any problem which that belongs to NP can be solved in polynomial time, because you are talking of a problem which is NP complete, that is belongs to the family of NP. Okay, which is not happened till now. But If you look into the prime number problem by Professor Manindra Agrawal and his students, of course, now one of them is a faculty in IIT Kanpur and another one heads the algorithm division in the Microsoft. Okay, algorithm division in the Microsoft. I think I have shared that paper, primes in P. The three names were written there. You can check. One of them is a faculty of at IIT Kanpur. Of course, now at a young age, he's also a professor in IIT Kanpur, and his friend leads the algorithm division in Microsoft. So this is they what they prove. Prime numbers is a problem belongs to, or the finding a prime number is NP complete problem. Okay, there that's why the statement of that paper is primes in P. Any of you have gone through that? Yes. Any of you have gone through that paper? At least I don't want to. I mean, you study that paper. Just have a look into that. That I have communicated to you or not? Primes in P. Can anybody check? I have sent that paper to you or not? Primes in P. Yes. Did I send that mail? Can anybody respond? Primes in P. Hello.
No, sir, not primes and P, sir.
Primes in P I
No,
have
sir.
not posted. Okay.
No,
No.
sir.
Okay. I'll share it. Just have a look into that. Uh, that is the what they try to do, because finding a prime number itself is a NP complete problem. Okay. So they are the first people who put a argument. That's why they have been recognized in the world. Actually, they try to solve a NP complete problem in polynomial time. So if their theory will be accepted, then NP equal to P. It's not a small innovation. It's a very big innovation. I mean, it's a breakthrough, and some of the algorithm book, they have cited this thing. They have cited this thing. Okay. So I think it's visible to you. Please check. This is the title. This is the title, and just to have a understanding to this, you see, this is published in 2002. And Professor Manindra Agrawal is a designer of the Trinetra, the security system of Indian Navy. So all security people, the game is on prime number. Okay. So they are the first person to prove this one, and if it is accepted that you are what they try to say, because they have solved a problem which is NP complete in polynomial time. So that's why a few algorithm books they mention this particular finding in their algorithm chapter. I mean, in the NP complete chapter of the textbook. There is a book by from Prentice Hall of India. There's a new edition. All books actually, and they try to look into that. Let me upload this again.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, the classes P and NP are defined for decision problems, and
Yes. This is
since
broadly to class first. Yes.
yes, sir, and since NP complete is also a subset of NP, So it is also for decision problems.
Yes,
But
everything is decent.
can an optimization problem be NP hard?
That's a coming the optimization problem. First, it satisfies the criteria that the problem is a decision problem. Then the next is the problem is the counting problem, right? Third, the problem
Sir,
is a
but
optimization.
NP hard does not require a problem to be NP. So
Yes,
does
yes, yes. You see, if you look into that diagram, no? If you look into that diagram again and again, always I try to refer that diagram. Once you understood that diagram, what it says, it is outside. Some problems are outside. Look into that. Because why it's so, the new problems which are coming, you see, when you look into the hard, na, hard world is outside this NP world. Some of the problem. And some of the problem which are NP hard, those who are proved to be NP complete, they falls into the category. Got it?
yes, sir. I read it in the Sahani book that if let's say some problem P1
Right.
and satisfiability is reducible to P1, so
Mhm.
P1 is NP. It will be
Complete.
NP hard, and if it is
Mm.
also in NP, then it is NP complete.
Yes, that the diagram says, na.
Yes,
If
sir.
it is
So
reducible, it is falls into NP, but all problems are not falls into NP. Then how it can be?
yes, sir.
Uh,
That's why I'm asking if that
yes,
problem
yes,
P1
yes.
can be optimization problem.
Yes, that P1 can be optimization problem mostly when the solution space is exponential. Okay.
Yes,
In
sir.
general, you'll be finding when solution space is exponential or any combinatorial problem because the solution space is large enough. So that is comes to into that category, and we don't have any known algorithm to find it out. Okay. So, and another interesting things when you look into this diagram, na, this diagram is not based on the proof. If you read the document of this, I think I have asked you to refer this, claymath.org. You'll be finding a group of people sit there to vote the diagram, not by proof. Some still agrees, majority of people agree to this diagram, but few people says ki no, they are already merged. That's why looking into the edition and the books, it is confusing. That's why you must know. And I'm telling you a confession in because I taught this topic in my assessment. Also, I faced this question in interview, and even the interview they ask me proof. You assume that this problem is NP complete, and can you prove this problem to be NP complete? I mean, lot theoretical questions they ask. So that's why someone has to know that this is not completely closed. It's an open type of thing, and what is the current trend that you must answer. Initial trend is like this, and few people are also not agreed to this. Not agreed to this. But if you look into the Sahni's book and look into this NP complete proof, which is being done, maybe the more than 2 decades, there is a gap. But in general, what you say that is correct. That is a combinatorial problem, and it belongs to HAT. So this is I critical because many problem which we for which we solve the thesis, we write this line, and in turn examiner ask us, and we fail to answer that. That's the problem. Okay, so now what we try to do, we got two things from this. That one is uh, if we got a problem to be NP complete, then we can prove the other problem to be NP complete by a mechanism called reducibility. Okay, what is that reducibility? What is that reducibility? Reducibility is nothing but the algorithm. Okay, and that conversion algorithm, or you can say transformation algorithm, must be a polynomial bound algorithm. Correct? That is a polynomial bound algorithm. That means if you are working on a problem and you only designed a algorithm to prove to reduce a problem, NP complete problem to your problem, that will be a great contribution. If you are working for a thesis or try to do something new, only if you reduce for the first time, will do that. And it is very difficult if you survey the literature working on various problems, you won't find this thing. Very, very difficult, I'm telling you. That is the reason people try to escape, even sometimes my students also, but when they face in the external, they ask this question, it is really embarrassing for them as well as for the supervisor. Because I know they just scared of this thing, that they don't try to write down something. Okay, now just because uh, I'll directly look into a simple example of the reducibility, which I was supposed to discuss. Uh, because this is the unique proof, which is, unique pictorial proof, which is a collection. Uh, Maybe I'm pulling it from the cloud, so. Yeah, the one of the important thing is all these problems, Hamiltonian circuit and other. So you'll be finding circuit satisfiability is somewhat, You see, typically the reducibility I was talking about, reducibility is nothing but developing an algorithm which will transform a problem to another problem, and this transformation must complete in polynomial time. This word you remember, the transformation is nothing but a algorithm, or you can say a process which completes in polynomial time. Okay, so that many books uses many definition, but simplified thing is this when you did. Now this is very, very important to us, for which we are going to discuss many theorems. Given a problem U, the step involved in proving that it is to be NP complete, so that the U is in NP. Yes. Can anybody react to this? First step one. First, the problem must be in NP. Okay, that I think you have understood. First, we need to prove the new problem is in NP. Okay, let us say spanning tree problem. You have to prove spanning tree is NP. Now select a known NP complete problem B. How you will select? With a good guess or looking into the previous researcher's experience, you select a problem. Then construct a reduction, means construct a new algorithm from B to U. The new problem, suppose I have selected Hamiltonian, then I'll say how the Hamiltonian problem will be reduced to a spanning tree. That's all. Then remember the last line, this requires polynomial time. Please remember this thing. This is one of the most important steps when you somebody is asked how to prove a problem to be NP complete. Understood? There is a family P, there is a family NP. You have, whenever you pick up a problem, when you do not have a known algorithm, with a good guess, it is goes to NP. Once it is goes to NP, I try to prove that problem to be NP complete. So I need to follow these steps. Okay, this slide number 103, it is already uploaded. You can look into that. So this is the hierarchy sometimes come to picture when you are selecting a node. Now let us look into this. This problem we try to prove. A very simple approach. See, if you look into the node, they are treating it as a AND gate and OR gate. Okay. So this is a function. There are one incoming edge, one outgoing edge. There are three incoming edge and one outgoing edge. Very simple explanation. How it is getting transferred. You see, node number A is EA and AB. And similarly, if you'll go to the next, you see, node number A is EA incoming and AB. And then it transferred to the satisfiability. You know, satisfiability is a circuit, right? Now node number B, look into the B, 3 incoming edges, 1 outgoing edges. So this is the expression. So this is a very unique example. You won't find, maybe it's a collection from the web. I mean, I am using it for more than 1 decade to explain. So this is a very good example of if the satisfiability is the first problem proved to be NP complete, then how we are going to do that. Okay, this is a very good example, very easy to understood. A graph is given, you know, incoming is and outgoing is, so we prove it. So that means you have created a matrix, you are traversing in a matrix, converting that to another matrix, definitely it will be a polynomial time, maybe max to max it will be order of n square. Okay, so this is already loaded, and for your information we'll be continue with NP complete. Please read that, at least these few things, P and NP, and then some problem is proved to be polynomial. As I have said, you go through that slide number, and that sometimes come to your rescue when you try to prove or try to define even NP complete problem. This is how do you prove a problem to be NP complete? Okay, then we have 6 to 7 examples where we are proving to be NP complete. Okay. Okay, thank you then. Uh, Maybe next class we'll discuss further.
Sir,
So I close the, yes, please follow.
sir, can all NP problems be solved using randomized